My talk today is about Android and what Google is trying to do with Google Android. I know Chris DeBona touched on it a bit this morning with his talk. And this is about accelerating mobile development. Of course, a lot of mobile phones are being used. I think we did a brief survey. How many people have mobile phones? How many people have more than one mobile phone? More than two? More than three? How many people have 4 or more mobile phones? Yes. That's us. Yeah, so a lot of mobile phones are being used. Who has no landline, but they have a mobile phone? So that's interesting as well. And I think the statistic is, and don't quote me on this because I don't really have a source to back it up, but something like more mobile phones are manufactured than babies are born in the world. It's really incredible. And in a lot of places like Africa, they haven't really gone through the desktop, laptop, mobile phone. They've sort of leapfrogged a couple of those stages and gone straight to using doing all their internet stuff on mobile phone. So there's a lot of people in the world whose first exposure to the internet is the mobile phone. So this is a very exciting market. Okay. So it's a modern operating system. We didn't actually build it entirely from scratch, to be fair. It is built on the Linux 2.6 kernel, but we'll get into that. And we feel it's a cutting-edge mobile user experience, and it is an excellent software stack for building applications. And you don't have to take my word for it. We do have some third-party people who can talk about that as well. And it's an open platform. It's open for developers, for users, of course, and industry. So here we're talking about why did we create Android. As I said before, there's a lot of mobile phones. Here there's more than 3 billion. And you can see at the bottom here it's been quoted. So we have our source, if you can read that URL. And there's, as we asked before about the number of people with more than one mobile phone, we have greater than 100% mobile phone usage in Europe. And we want to reach that audience. And so we feel that in order to do that, we need an open platform. I don't know how many people here know about the gold rush in California in the 19th century. And Levi's. I don't know if these are actually Levi's brands, but Levi Strauss actually went to the gold rush in California and made his fortune building durable trousers for people who were miners. And he made his fortune. And the point of this slide is that if he had to register before he could buy his canvas, because originally they were canvas and things like that, before he could make his trousers and make his fortune, he probably would not have made his fortune. So this is why we want to lower the barriers to entry for people doing mobile applications. And what made the web a hit? Well, it's open and it's ubiquitous, and it's very easy to develop for the web. Who here did a web page way back in the early 2000? All right, whose web pages look terrible? Okay, good, not just me. Yeah, man, when I deal with graphic artists who can make a web page look good, I am so envious of those guys. I mean, I can do the back-end stuff and you know, some of the JavaScript and the Java things, but yeah, making it look good is a real talent that I do not have. Okay, so it's an open development model. It's open to industry because it's open to carriers. A carrier does not have to pay Google or anybody else a licensing fee for every single phone that has Android on it that runs off the assembly line. And it's open to manufacturers. So a manufacturer who just wants to sell a mobile phone over the web or something like that can put Android on there and they don't have to pay anything. And this helps reduce the cost, the overall cost of the mobile phone. And of course, it's free and open to enthusiasts. So I hope we have more than 2 enthusiasts for Android here today. And of course, it reduces costs and time to market. I mean, with open source, you can receive a patch and you can put new features in the operating system much faster than with traditional models that are much more clamped down. And you don't need anybody's permission to deploy an app. So I don't know if you've seen in the news, there's been some popular mobile phone app stores have been stopping some developers from distributing their applications, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to exercise any kind of editorial content. So really, I think applications should live or sort of fade away on their own merits, and that's not up to us to decide. And all applications can integrate deeply with the system. There's no second-class citizens within the Android software stack. So if there's a particular piece of functionality that you want to replace yourself, like for example, there's a default activity that allows you to choose photos that you've taken, for example. You could replace that with your own that was better and maybe used a touchscreen in a better way if there was a touchscreen. And you can replace the entire look and feel of the mobile phone. So this is of particular importance to carriers, and so they can actually focus on their branding and the whole user experience, and not have to worry about the details of multi-threaded modern operating system, which is nice for them. As I said before, you don't need anybody's permission to use an application, and you are in total control of your own experience. Well, this just means you can install the apps. It's up to you to figure out which apps you want to install. And you can completely configure, have shortcuts to your applications. And you can control the appearance, defaults. I mean, things like ringtones just become so much easier. So we're going to talk about the stack. As I said before, the basis of the Android operating system is the Linux kernel. So we didn't build everything from scratch. The Linux kernel, we just find it's excellent. We run all of our infrastructure at Google on lots and lots of Linux boxes. Is Mr. DeBona in the audience? How many boxes do we have? 6 or 7. Yeah, I think it might be like 8 now, isn't it? We have more than 8. And on top of this, we have various libraries. So as you can see, we have OpenGL, which is built in, which is really nice. Here it says Media Framework. What it's not telling you is the fact that there's MP3 codecs, MPEG-4, H.264, OGG. OGG made it in, right? Yes. Awesome. Yeah, so OGG is in there as well, and of course WebKit and various other things. And then there's the Android runtime. This is the heart of things, really. For a developer, this is the heart of things. So we built our own virtual machine, and the virtual machine that we built is actually, it uses DEX files, not class files. So strictly speaking, it's not Java. What we do is you write your stuff in the Java programming language. You compile it to .class files. Those .class files get crunched down, optimized, scanned, and a whole bunch of things get done to them. And they get turned into .dex files, which our Android runtime uses. The .dex file is kind of it's almost like halfway to compiling to machine code, really. And so it's designed for a severely resource-constrained environment. And the Android runtime, I mean, you could just talk forever about all the optimizations that are in there and how the custom class loader uses shared memory, for commonly used classes so that you're not, repeating those chunks of memory all over the place. And there's a whole bunch of innovations that went in there. It's just amazing. The lead engineer on this, I always talk to him whenever I go to Mountain View and we have a coffee, and that guy is so smart. He sits down and he describes to me something new every time, and I'm just blown away. It's just amazing. And on top of that, we have the application framework. So we've got a bunch of great libraries that you can use for writing your own stuff. For example, there's a component that allows you to hook in a web browser into whatever application you're writing. So a web browser just becomes a Java class that you add to your project. And then, of course, there's the applications that come pre-installed on the phone. Various other things. And as you can imagine, you can get rid of those and put in your own, which maybe have a different shade of purple. It's an easy development model. It's easy to build applications, and you're free to integrate with any technology. We'll talk about that. It's easy to build applications. First, I'm going to talk about the declarative UI layout. Who here has done Java GUI programming with Swing? All right. For clients or just for fun? Clients? How often did the client ask you to like move the button over here, change the color of this, and you just had to mess with the layout constantly, and grid bag layout with I don't know how many parameters. You've experienced that pain, yeah? Yeah, exactly. And so the nice thing about Android, because a lot of the engineers who worked on this also felt the same pain, and they've decided to separate out the layout from the logic. And so you do a declarative layout in a really simple XML format. It's very similar to HTML. The nice thing about that is those people that are really, really good at doing user interfaces, you can just teach them the XML syntax and you can stay on the code. At least that's what I try to do. And so what you can do is you can change the look and feel and even the language of your application just by manipulating these simple XML files, and you can leave your code alone, which is nice. And of course, you can manipulate the user interface using code if you want to. And I mean, the point of this is this Ajax. It's not Ajax on a phone. I mean, obviously, there's a WebKit browser that's built in that can do Ajax. But this is actually for deeper integration with a phone and being able to do much cooler things than you could do with a web app. And it's optimized for mobile. So there's a lot of things that are taken into account with the fact that it's a mobile. You have to think a little bit differently. I know that when I would talk to engineers in Mountain View on this team, and I'm from more of a desktop development environment, and so I'd say, can't you just do this, and won't this make it simpler, and what about this? And they'd come back to me and say, well, that uses more battery power. And it's funny, because they're always thinking, all these engineers are thinking in terms of battery life and battery power. And no, if we do it this way, we can put the CPU to sleep and we can save a bit of time on the battery power. And it amazed me, because coming from desktop development, I don't really think about the power. It comes out of the wall. It's limitless. You know, I don't really think about saving power. And so that's one thing that these guys think about all the time. Okay, so really this slide here shows you that because you're doing stuff with the Java programming language on your device, that you can talk to servers using HTTP, plain sockets, SSL sockets, and you can use any kind of wire level protocol. So Google data, that shouldn't be GData, SOAP, XML, RPC, you can imagine. And of course you can even, gasp, use .NET if you want on the server side. So we don't restrict anything, obviously, and LAMP as well. So it's an easy distribution model. There's a lot of ways that you can get your applications onto a device. So you'd be able to download them from the web. You can put it on an SD card, and you could even squirt it over a USB connection. And more to come later. I think what they're hinting at there is the marketplace, the Android marketplace, which I can talk about because that was blogged about on the Google blog. Okay, so here's a brief demo of the SDK and its capabilities. So here, if you go and download, if you go to code.google.com/Android and you download the SDK, you can actually have a look at some of the API examples and see what it takes to write something. So this is how lazy I am. I just compiled one of the examples from the SDK and did a screen capture here. So this just shows the OpenGL capability. So that's not bad. I like the Rubik's Cube there. Actually, when I was a kid, I used to solve the Rubik's Cube. I was quite proud of that. Any other Rubik's Cube geeks here? Did you know at Google we've actually hired one of the world's best Rubik's Cube solvers? I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Of course, he was like 3 times faster than my fastest time. Okay, and media, of course. I was talking about the different codecs that are installed, and I think this one might even have some sound. Let's see. Okay, this actually, this was actually this was a bit tricky to capture because, of course, I'm doing a video capture where I'm capturing the emulator, and the emulator is actually emulating an ARM CPU. So it's actually has the entire Android operating system is being run here. So here I've got an MPEG-4 that's being decoded while I was encoding it and capturing it to a file, and at the same time it's emulating an ARM CPU. So my little laptop was quite warm, I can tell you. Has anyone seen this ad? It's an ad for Google Mail. Yeah, this is users contributed video clips. It's really clever. They were told to just have this envelope in their video clip, just had to go from one side of the screen to another in different creative ways. That's pretty fun. And of course, you can browse the web using a WebKit-based browser. And like I said before, there's a Java component, there's a Java class that you can use and embed in your application. So you can have a mini web browser in your own application if you want, which makes it very nice. So yeah, so let's see, I went here to Science and Tech. I did this actually sitting in the San Francisco office just because I had to update this for the latest SDK that was released. Oh yeah, and I found this. There we go, Washington Post. That's mean, isn't it? That's just mean. Okay, so just wrapping up, Android is open to everybody, industry, developers, and users. It aims to be as easy to build for as the web, and it's a link to the cloud that fits in your pocket. And we're going to skip questions until after I introduce these two gentlemen here. You want to set up your laptop here? Oh wait, that's right, it's on mine. Okay. Do you want to? Where's the microphone? Which one? Oh, you have it there. Excellent. You want to introduce yourself, and I'll get your slide going.
Does it work? Yeah. Hi, my name is Conrad. This is Henning, and we participated in the Google Android Developer Challenge and were happy to get among the 10 best applications with our software cab for me, which helps you to get a cab when you need it. Who of you has been lost and wanted to get a cab but had no phone number of a cab company? I mean, that's like the typical use case. You never have it. And if you dial it, it's probably busy. So mainly all these times when you want a cab, you don't find one. And we thought this might be a good application for a mobile phone because it really helps you when you're on your way. You don't use it when you're at home because then you usually don't need it. So our software cab for me helps you to do so. And I'm just going to present you how it works. So if you look for a cab, the thing you do is you just open the Cab for Me application, see a map where you are, and can select the place where you want to be picked up. And after that, you just press the order button, which just gives you a form where you can enter some more information like ring at the doorbell with a name, something, so that the driver can find you, and then you confirm the order. After you did this, the order is going dispatched to a web client we built with a Google Web Toolkit, enabling us to use Google Maps to show the position where all the passengers are waiting, and the cab companies can just accept those orders and tell you how many minutes they take to get to your place. And you get a notification of that telling you which cab company will serve you when the cab is going to arrive, and you can still see the position where it will come to. So after ordering it, even if you might order it just to arrive tomorrow at 6 to bring you to the airport, you still know where it will come to. So you get all the information you need to find your cab later on. And if that is not working, we still provide you with phone numbers, because you could say, well, you need cab companies joining you. Sure, but before that, we just do a Google search and provide you all the phone numbers of cab companies in your area, so we will for sure help you with that application to find a cab. And that's mainly how it works. It's really, really simple. We just want to do it as easy as possible, no registration, because that's just a pain. And yeah, it's mainly 2 clicks for you, and then you get a notification. And now I'm just going to give the micro to Henning, who's telling you how we built it on Android and why that was so much fun.
All right, hello. So my name is Henning, and I did this together with Konrad. And I like to share some of the experience we made with Android during our development of Cap4Me. And so both Konrad and I had some experience on other mobile platforms like J2ME before. So to some extent we are able to compare these platforms. And yeah, so what does Android give to us for Cap4Me? I think, yeah, of course, we are getting a nice SDK which eases the development cycle and makes you can program in Java, and you have fast turnaround cycles, so that makes it very easy to create something and debug it and yeah, make it better. And that's one thing. But I think the power of Android comes from the API and the components which are ready to use. As you have seen in the slides before, we use excessively the maps widget, and we show the user's location. So one very important feature for us is to obtain the user's location either through GPS or through cell-based location retrieval, and that is very easy to do on Android. It's actually one API call. And one other thing is that the Google Maps integration. So on no platform we know of it is so easy. You can just integrate the Maps widget and extend it with your own overlays and display the user's location. So that is very easy. We use it excessively. Yeah, so that is very helpful for us, because without the Maps integration, Cap4Me it wouldn't be so good for the user. So that's very good for us. Yeah, and besides the Google Maps integration, of course, we're using always-on internet access. If we are when we are processing the order of the user, then we are sending the request to our server, and there it gets processed. And of course, we need always-on internet. And yeah, Android also has these capabilities through its API. It makes it very easy to integrate HTTP calls, because the Apache HTTP client is already integrated in Android. Yeah, so to sum it up, Android is really a platform which makes it easy to create very rich applications, because you have the powerful API, because you have ready-to-use components you can just integrate into your application. So you are very fast to create the application, and this we like very much when we develop Cap4Me. All right, so that's it from our side. Are there any questions?
Okay, I'll just run the microphone back and forth. Thanks.
Well, you obviously seem to be from Germany as well. Do you think your solution will ever be legal with certain vendors, which I'm not going to name, or will it be considered a similar breach of service level agreements than to actually call. So will you be forced to call a cab with certain carriers, or do you think your services and your servers will have more luck than, for example, voice over IP with most of the carriers, not just in Germany?
Well, actually, we're not doing voice processing, so we're not taking the calls away. We just use the internet connection, and if they start to forbid that, I don't know, they can turn off internet on the phone. So mainly, I don't fear that.
Okay, another question. Oh, 1 second, let me bring you the microphone.
Where is the business case? So how do you get money? How do you make money?
What is the business case, was the question.
We keep part of that as a secret, but we don't want to charge the end user. That's for sure. And I mean, we developed the application. It's almost ready to use, hopefully. But we know that it doesn't help if the user who wants a cab has to pay for that. And we're going to find other ways to make money out of that.
Okay, right up front here.
I want to ask a question about Android itself.
Okay.
When will it be available in real hardware?
Okay, the question is, when will Android be available in real hardware? From the beginning, we've said that it will be launching on real hardware in the second half of 2008. And then later on, we said second half of 2008. And today, I'm still saying second half of 2008. Is Lena? Hey, hi.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, you read this in the press, I guess, that T-Mobile is having a press conference today at around, I don't have my watch with me, but at 10:30 New York time, so which would be
4:30.
half past 4 today. So there will be an announcement by T-Mobile, of course, and you all know what it's going to be about. And so after that, we will be able to repeat what they told all the world press in New York. And and in the recap or in the final session, then later in the afternoon, we will be able to tell a little bit more what's been demoed and said in New York.
Okay. Thank you, Kai. Can I take you with me on every talk I do? Okay, another question up front.
Yes, I have actually two questions. I'm currently developing for the iPhone, and how do you handle it that Android is going to run on different kinds of mobile devices? You have different screen sizes, different hardware that it's running on. When I write an application for the iPhone, I know exactly what the screen size is going to be, what I can work with. Mm-hmm. How can I do that as a developer when I write an Android application?
Okay, so I'm going to simplify your question a little bit. Let's say that you write a geolocating application, like Cab for Me, and some people have handsets with a GPS and some people do not. So now I've definitely turned this into a question for a Cab for Me.
Right. Thanks a lot, Mike. So what Android gives you is an opportunity that you can query the device capabilities, and you can also create different layout for different screen sizes, for example. The layout is defined in XML. And you can easily create another XML for a different screen layout. So that's one thing. And yeah, of course, through the API, you can query if GPS is available, for example. And then you have to, of course, program your own logic that your application handles it correctly.
So mainly concerning the resources, if you have different screen resolutions, you just name the directory, like I have a landscape screen with 96 dpi resolution, and you put your layout file in there, and the rest is done by Android. Or if you have to do it in German and English, you just name the string.xml file with a /de in the end, and it's taking that if you're locally it's German. So no line of code, actually. That is really good.
I think you've asked a question already, didn't you? Okay, in the back there, the red hair.
Two questions. First, how long did it take you to build this? And is there a specific reason why you did it for Android and not, for example, for the iPhone?
Excellent question. Did everybody hear that? Why did you build this for Android and not for the iPhone? And how long did it take to build?
All right, I'll answer the second question first. Actually, it took us from December till now, and we have no life since then.
But you have a full-time job.
Yeah, we have a full-time job besides that, so that's why. So as for the first question, yeah, it's very simple actually. We wanted to participate on the Android Developer Challenge, and so we came up with some ideas, and we chose Cap4Me as our idea. So we didn't really think about starting with iPhone, because the idea of the Android Developer Challenge was first.
And besides that, we didn't have to register. We could use Windows for development. And we didn't own an iBook or something like this so far. And you can do things with Android you're not allowed to on the iPhone, like background processes. This order confirmation is impossible on the iPhone currently, because we just start a service and you just can do anything with your phone, and somewhere it will tell you your cab comes in 5 minutes or something. So the platform is just open, you download it, you start, and you're up in 10 minutes.
All right, more questions. You in the front.
Is Java 2D supported in Android?
Is Java 2D supported? I'm going to say I don't know, and follow up why I don't think it is. I think that there's Android.packages are the packages that you're meant to use for the graphic stuff. Anything else?
Two questions. First question, with a new geolocation API of Gears, do you really need a native application for your use case? Or couldn't you just write like a simple browser application? And the second question would be, will the Android platform be limited to Java development, or will there be something like, I don't know, agile development with scripting languages or something like that?
Okay, first the question for the Cap4Me guys, why couldn't you do this as a web application using Gears?
Another time, the background process to get the confirmation. If you close your browser, you have a problem, and that included support for internationalization and just platform-specific stuff. Helps us a lot to tailor it to all the markets we hope to launch it somewhere. And we can use the interface power. So, of course, we could probably do this in the web, but for us it would be more pain and not as much fun as doing it on the device.
And you can also hook into the dialer and have it call the cab for you.
Yeah.
Which you can't really do that in a web app. That's right. Okay, any other questions? Oh, the scripting languages, yeah. Well, as you see that you can take any .class file and crunch that down into a DEX file that then gets executed on the Dalvik runtime. There's lots of other languages out there that actually compile down to .class files. So I'm sure someone smart's going to probably do it. You know, might be you. Might be me if I ever get some time off. Quick. All right, let me just bring the microphone over to you.
What's the minimum hardware specification to run Android?
The minimum hardware spec. I don't really know what the minimum hardware spec is off the top of my head. I know that it runs really well on the prototype devices that I've seen, but I'm afraid I don't have the answer for that for you. Not as not very much. You don't need not as much as like a desktop. You.
Actually, hearing about the T-Mobile press conference, is this going to be an exclusive deal with T-Mobile? Can you say something about that? I mean, it pretty much sucks to only be able to buy an iPhone from T-Mobile. I'm hoping it's different with this.
Okay, so the question was, how much better is it to have a declarative UI layout than programmatic? And I think the cab for me guys, you know, they really summarize well in the fact that in your strings.xml file, you can have a strings_de to localize to German. You can have different layouts based on the DPI of the target device. So I hope that answered that. Thank you. All right, another one in the. Actually, I'll go back to you now.
Thanks. About your confirmation that a cab company has accepted your order of a cab. How do you actually do that? You said you run a service in the background. Is that a pull? That means the service looks, or do you push the information from your server process, like a REST call to the phone?
Right. As soon as you pass your order, we'll start the background service, which keeps polling the server at a regular interval. And as soon as it gets a confirmation, then it will stop polling. So it shouldn't. The service itself wouldn't live very long. And during that time, we are polling the server.
Okay.
We hope it doesn't take too long until the cab company accepts the order, and maybe we changed that, but that was just the first approach we took. Yeah, but we need to keep an HTTP connection open then as well. So, and we kept the server quite stateless so far, and we wanted to stay with that for the first time.
Okay, another question here.
Yeah, actually it just connects to your question because I'm wondering about the power consumption with the background processes. Because when a lot of people have criticized the decision by Apple to actually not allow background processes and to shut down your app when you close it. But from a user point of view, in my opinion, that's not the worst idea, because actually when you shut down the application, it cannot use G3 connection anymore, which is very battery draining. So what if you have a couple of apps running that have parallel processes and background processes that use the network, and you're on a G3 connection, on a 3G connection? Will your battery just die after 3 hours and you won't be notified? Or
I would deinstall the app. I mean, we sleep most of the time, and I expect Android to sleep then as well. We don't have to poll every second. I mean, that's if you get the confirmation like half a minute later, it doesn't matter. So I don't expect our app, because you don't use it like 5 times a day probably, to suck so much battery. And if there is an app, it will definitely fail on the market. And if we get a problem with that, we'll solve it.
Okay, so but the policy of Android is that you can have apps running parallel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. I mean, we could have made the decision to say you can't do this kind of thing, you can't do that kind of thing, you can't do this kind of thing, but you never know when the next real innovation is going to come from. And so by saying you cannot have any background services, yes, that would help the battery life, because you could write an application that drains your battery really quickly if you really wanted to. But it also means that you can have the really innovative things like Cab for Me. So you have to be careful not to crush innovation and by trying to dictate to people the kinds of things that they can do. Because we really have no idea where the next big innovation is going to come from. Okay, we got time for maybe 2 more questions. This guy in the red shirt, I don't think you've asked a question yet.
So who maintains the kernel? So if there's a bug in the kernel, I go to Google and download a new one and install it on my device, or
That's an excellent question. Is Chris around? He's the open source manager. He would know exactly the right answer to that question. The question was, who maintains the kernel? Well, the Linux kernel is just whoever maintains the Linux kernel, isn't it? Well, I mean, I don't know if I have the right answer for you. As far as I know, it's just a standard Linux kernel, and so if you want to play around with that, you probably can. But I don't know. I don't know exactly the right answer for you on that question. Okay, and one last question, and then we'll have lunch. You in the back there. Let me just bring the microphone over to you.
Thanks. I'm wondering about the roadmap. You say you release the version 1 of the SDK right now. And
I don't think I can make it go.
The roadmap ends
I was told it's
at the fourth quarter of this year.
I'm sorry?
I'm wondering about the roadmap. The roadmap ends at the fourth quarter of this year. And it says, okay, there will be probably a release /1 or something like this. And when will you announce how it will... give us a longer outlook, how it will be in the next 2 years or so.
Okay, so the question was, what does the roadmap look like over the next 2 years or next year? I believe the plan is, before the year is out, to have version 1 of the SDK, because we said second half of 2008. And I believe that we'll probably see a version 1.1 sometime in the new year. Probably within I don't know, maybe the first half of the new year, but I don't really have the timetables for that stuff memorized. Okay, well, I hope everybody has enjoyed this session. I apologize it doesn't go till 12:20, but I hope this just means that there's more time to have some lunch.